Morning Year 5. Reading, Extend and Deepen, Tom's Midnight Garden. So, Wordsmith Wendy. Let's take a little look at some of these. So, first one. When Tom speaks at the top of page 13, how might he sound? Apologies, I copied and pasted these pages and thought that the page number stayed on the bottom. It did not. Luckily, there is only one page where he's speaking at the top, which is this one here. So, how do you think Tom sounds? Very kind, Tom repeated bitterly. So if you can need to know a bit about what the word bitterly means, or you can read a bit before. It's very kind of you, isn't it, Tom? Very kind, Tom repeated bitterly. The fact he's repeated something, and if you're bitter about something, you normally really dislike it. You've hated the fact that you've had to do that. So I think he would have sounded. How would he have sounded is the question. I think he would have sounded maybe a bit sarcastic, down and grumpy perhaps. And you can, even if you don't know what the word bitterly means, the fact he's repeated the phrase, gives you a clue that it wasn't the happiest of replies. What do you think bore little fruit means about the apple tree? So the apple tree is here. In this last, the apple tree grew. It was large but bore very little fruit, and according to the two boys, had always been allowed to climb freely over it. Now, we've had the word bore, B-O-R-E, before, and I can't think where from. Was it from the night poems? Like the nights? So to bore is to have. To bore very little fruit doesn't mean literally have tiny fruits. Bore very little fruit means it doesn't flower and grow enough fruit. So it doesn't have many apples on it. Next one. Town gardens are small as a rule. What does this mean? You don't actually need to go in the text for this one, because you've got the phrase given to you. What does this mean? Town gardens are small as a rule. Well, as a rule, it means it's common knowledge and it's kind of assumed. You've got a town garden. You must have it must be quite small. It means that in general, most town gardens were small. Okay. It's like saying, as a rule, most country roads aren't as busy as the main roads in the city, as a rule. Yeah, it's just in general, it means. Found a copy of the word which means swollen. I'll be honest, I had to skim read this twice just before pressing record, just so I checked where it was. So do be careful when you skim reading it, but you don't have to go too far. It's over here. So a synonym for swollen is inflamed. Even though it sounds like fire, inflamed actually means to be swollen. If you've got an inflammation, which means it's got a bit bigger. What do you think Tom means by a pokey flat? So that's down here. And she's kind. Cooped up for weeks with Uncle Alan and Aunt Gwen in a pokey flat. He had never visited them before, but he knew they lived in a flat with no garden. There's some clues here. You've already been told the garden, as a rule, they don't have gardens. A flat, apartment. I don't expect you to actually know what pokey flat means. A pokey flat just means it's very small. I don't know where the pokey comes from. Maybe it's just the fact that it's so small, you're poking into everything. A poke is small, I suppose, when you poke somebody. But pokey flat means it's very small. And then the last one, what impression of the house do you get when the heart of the house is described? Now, the heart of the house is down here, on the last page. Here it lay at the heart of the house, for it went centrally from front to back with the sideways part of the stair in a T-shape. And the heart of the house was cold, empty, cold, dead. Now to do a power of 3 means significant importance and effect, as we know. So what impression of the heart of the house do you get from that? Empty, cold, dead. Well, to me that means, the fact that it's the heart of the house. The heart is the beating soul of everything, isn't it? So if the heart of the house is cold, dead and empty, it means there's no life in it. It feels like there's no interest there. There's no excitement, no life. It's dull, it's dim. Doesn't mean it's run down, but there's just a feeling of nothing happening, emptiness. You know. Yeah, so there's no life. There's no... When you walk into a house, there's life, isn't there? There's clearly somebody's living there. So the heart of the house, if it's empty, dead, cold, it just means there's no happiness there. Okay, I think there's a bit of personification on the house. Well done with that. I know the reading can be quite tricky in this style. Don't forget though, the colours are to help. Definitely do the white ones, have a go with the orange, and then the blues are the challenge. But well done, brilliant with that, guys.